and it's 8:30, so thanks for joining me. It's Thursday morning, my Thursday morning vineyard ramble. So here it's the first of a little masterclass on pruning with the master himself, who's here, Jean-Marc. And morning.
Morning.
And we'll be catching up with Jean-Marc in just a second, but I'm just going to locate you first where we are, because we're actually in one of Jean-Marc's vineyards, because I wanted to show you the pruning method called cordon de Royat. Cordon de Royat. So Jean-Marc will be telling us about that in a minute, but let's just have a look over here. So if we look in this direction, over this direction is Maury, through the valley there. We've got Cucugnan, Paden, and then over to Maury, lovely limestone gorge. If I pan round now, hopefully you can just pick out the snow-capped Canigou. It looks absolutely wonderful this morning. Looks very chilly over there. And the clouds, again, look at these clouds still. Just gorgeous. I'm panning around, so we've got the Roussillon, 6 kilometres in this direction. We're on quite a busy road for Touchon here, so excuse the traffic. And as we pan round, we come look further and we can see the cliffs of Vangros, lovely village of Vangros in the Roussillon, this direction. The sun's just rising over here. Behind the Garrigue, we have the beaches of the Languedoc. So we have Le Cat, La Palme, we have the village of Fitou, and we have La Franquie, for those of you who've been down on holiday. As we pan round, we've got a lovely shot of Jean-Marc in the foreground, and we've got the Château d'Aguilar rising in the background, our wonderful 11th century Cathar castle. And then just panning round, so not too windy, a slight breeze. This direction is Narbonne, so we are about, hi, good to see you. We're about an hour and a quarter from Narbonne, if you go in this direction. And then we pan around, and we've just got a tiny bit of sunshine reflecting off the Toche Mountain, the wonderful Toche Mountain with the windmills on the top. And this rises to 900 metres, lovely limestone mountain. So if you've got your tea towels, hi Uncle Ed, if you've got your tea towels out, you may not quite know exactly where we are. So I'm just going to grab Jean-Marc. Let's catch up with Jean-Marc here. And first of all, first thing, most important, I'm going to get him to hold the tea towel. Morning, Jean-Marc.
Morning.
Could you just hold the tea towel for me, first of all? Sorry. Careful of your... Yeah, no. Sorry, yeah, I shouldn't have asked you to hold both things. So this way around. So we're just going to locate the vineyard we're in this morning. So we're actually on this road here, the D39. On the D39, and we are about here, and this is one of Jean-Marc's vineyards. It's actually Marcelin. Has anybody heard of Marcelin? That's a grape variety. Thank you. It's a grape variety, Marcelin. It's actually a cross between Grenache and Cabernet Sauvignon. So it's like a drought-resistant Cabernet Sauvignon. We couldn't grow straight Cabernet Sauvignon here because we don't have enough rain, but when we cross it with Grenache, you get a grape called Marcelin. So, Jean-Marc, we've got lots of people wanting to see how you prune and what is the idea of pruning. So I'm going to get nice and close to you, because I only have the one microphone in my jacket. I did try the other mic, but I'm not professional enough yet to do it. So we've got one mic here. So I'm very close to you, as always. But could you just explain what you're doing then?
Donc, la taille, l'objectif, c'est de préparer les prochaines vendanges.
Okay, so we're preparing from pruning. Actually, we're already preparing the next harvest.
Donc on va essayer de tailler pour que les bois qu'on va laisser fassent des raisins pour l'année prochaine.
So sounds quite simple. We're just pruning. We're taking off the shoots, and we're leaving the shoots that are going to produce the grapes for next year.
Parce que tous les sarments ne sont pas identiques.
So not all the branches are the same.
Et tous les sarments ne produisent pas des raisins.
And not every shoot produces grapes. So you have to be very careful, I imagine, in which shoot you cut off, because if you cut the wrong ones off,
Bah, tu peux ne pas. On va essayer de
you could have
regarder,
no
de
harvest.
choisir. Mettons,
So, right, so
Ouais.
let's have a look
pour
here.
faire simple.
So
On a
let's look at this quite simply.
déjà,
So,
cette
okay.
taille,
Oh,
ça s'appelle le cordon de
voilà.
Royat.
So this is a cordon de Royat, a
Pardon.
system
Là,
of
les,
pruning.
là, les souches sont plantées assez serrées.
So we've got the vines are planted quite close together. They're on wires.
Entre deux pieds, ici et là, il y a 1 mètre.
So we've got 1 meter between the vines. The vines are planted 1 meter apart.
Là, comme ça, il y a 2 mètres.
And 2 meters between the rows. 1 meter apart
Donc,
and 2 meters between the rows.
on va
And it's
essayer-
cordon de Royat. Oops, right, yes.
Donc, on va essayer d'étaler la végétation.
So we want to spread out. The idea is when the leaves and the branches grow, that we spread out the leaves and the vegetation across the wire. So it forms like a hedge. We basically on veut une haie de...
Il faut que ça
Voilà.
fasse une haie et que les raisins ne soient pas entassés pour qu'il y ait une meilleure
Okay.
maturité.
So basically we want to create a hedge on these wires, and we want the grapes to be separated out so they're not all clumped together. So a nice even spread of grapes. Wow, so how do you do that then?
Donc là, on taille, on répartit les... Ça s'appelle un courson.
So here we've got the spur, or the courson in
On
French.
répartit les coursons pour que la végétation soit étalée.
And so we're spreading out the spurs so that when the grapes grow, they're going to be spread out as well. So you can see here,
Ça c'est le bourgeon, on appelle ça un œil.
let's just zoom right in. So here, Jean-Marc's just showing us so it's the courson, which is the spur, and on the spur we've got a bud. You can already see the bud, which actually formed in the spring of this year. So that bud,
Donc
There.
là, on a 2 yeux.
so we've got one there,
Et un, deux.
and another one.
Et ensuite il y a
Oh
plein,
yeah, you can see 2 here.
et ensuite,
so
il y a
one, two.
plein de bourgeons sur ce qu'on appelle la couronne ici.
And then you can see there's lots of other buds around the bottom of the spur.
Mais ça qui ne pousse que lorsque ces bourgeons-là ne sont pas...
And those secondary buds down here, they will only grow if something happens to the top.
Donc les futurs
Buds.
raisins seront sur ces yeux qui vont pousser.
Okay, so next year's harvest, 2021, are going to come out of these little buds or eyes, les yeux, buds, that are here. So these little buds already are the start of next year's harvest, and you leave 2. So you cut the spur down, so you've only got 2 buds on the spur. And I think last night Jean-Marc told me that if you actually looked inside this bud, you would be able to see in minute detail the shoot and the grapes that are going to form from there. So you would actually know how many bunches are going to come out of that bud. Yeah, amazing.
Et là, mettons, on voit
Right.
mettons,
Okay,
un
serious
sarment
things
comme
here.
ici, qui
So-
a poussé- qui a poussé sur le vieux bois.
So here, for example, we can see that there is a stick, a sarment branch here that has actually grown out of the old wood.
Hein. Donc ce sarment, si on taille, mettons, si on taillait ce sarment comme ça,
So if we cut this shoot that's come off the old wood of the vine,
là on ne ferait pas de raisin.
we wouldn't get any grapes.
Donc, si on veut faire du raisin, en fait, il faut venir tailler
So if we want to get grapes, which we do, you need to prune.
sur le bois de l'année d'avant. C'est-à-dire, on
You
va
need a
choisir-
spur that's coming off that's coming
Ça, c'est
off
plus facile sur le
last
bois.
year's wood.
Ça, c'est le courson
So
que nous
here you
avons
can
laissé-
see.
Ça, c'est le courson que nous avons laissé l'année dernière.
So that's the spur that we left last year. This one, so yeah, this darker bit here is what the spur we left from last year. Yes.
Pour faire du raisin, il faut tailler, il faut laisser les sarments qui sont sur le
And
courson de l'année dernière.
to get any grapes, you need to prune the shoots that's come off last year's spur. It's all making sense, Jean-Marc. It's brilliant. So any questions as well? Oops. Please do put them in the little box down here. So we're looking at Jean-Marc doing some cordon de Royat pruning. I missed that bit. You just cut some stuff off. Let's look at another one. Donc tu peux refaire ce que tu as fait. So just preparing.
Là, en fait, je vais laisser, comme ce bras est mort,
So this is actually dead. This arm of the vine is dead.
En fait, je vais laisser le sarment pour remplacer ce bras.
So he's got to construct this whole arm of the cordon de Royat again, because this is actually, unfortunately, dead, this arm. And so he's going to build, here we go. He's actually taking off the whole arm, and then he's going to have to form another arm with a new shoot here and bend that across, and I imagine attach it to the wire so that, voilà, so that he starts to get that cordon de Royat form again. Et là, ça va prendre combien de temps pour devenir comme celui d'à côté?
Bah, disons dès l'année prochaine, en fait, ses yeux vont forcer.
Okay.
Et là, ça va produire dès l'année prochaine.
So it's going to produce from next year, that's no problem. But how long will it take to actually look like this one? So that's ça a 25 ans. So the vine's 25 years old.
Ouais, mais bon, ça va vite.
Oh, it goes quite quickly. Oh, in 2 years' time, you won't be able to see the difference. D'accord. It will be a bit smaller. So if you can see in the distance here, the vine that is nicely trained as a cordon de Royat. So you can see the shape, sort of the trunk, and then two shoots that are attached to the wires coming up there. Okay, shall we see you? If I stand back a bit, we can look at you. Tu peux tailler. So this is where we were. So the vine's been pre-pruned with a machine, with the tractor. So first thing, he's going to take off the sticks, the shoots that are on the old wood, because they're not going to produce any grapes. So identify the old wood and cut off the shoots. Oh, you've left one though. T'en as laissé un. And so the shoot you've left is actually coming off last year's cordon. Oh, he's a bit quick on this. So cutting off. And these are electric scissors like we saw last time, so making the work a lot easier than the hand ones. Right, I'm going to see if I can get him to slow down a little bit on the next one. So that one's been broken by the wind probably, or a wild boar coming by, so take that off. And take that. Okay, tu peux... Let's just look at one more. Et tu peux expliquer un peu, dès que tu coupes un truc, t'expliques pourquoi tu l'enlèves. Et avant de commencer, peut-être t'expliques, là tu le regardes, et qu'est-ce que tu regardes là? Oui, tu choisis. So we're just selecting the best shoot. So here we go. So here is a nice, well-formed vine. It's got the two arms on the cordon de Royat. So what we're aiming to do is to leave 5 to 6 shoots on this vine. So with 5 or 6 shoots, spurs, that's really going to spread out the harvest nicely once it starts growing. The grapes will be spread out. Okay, so we're taking off this first shoot, which is on old wood, which isn't going to produce anything next year. So if we left that, there would be no grapes on it at all. So anything on old wood. Et pourquoi t'enlèves ça? And so he selected to leave one spur on the end here, and that is on, c'est sur le bois de l'année dernière. And that is on the wood, the spur from last year. So again, tu peux expliquer ce que tu fais? So here he's pruning again on the wood, on the spur of last year. So this is last year's spur. Here. And then what he cut off here is on the old wood. So that would not produce any grapes. And here, this is last year's spur. And so he's left one spur for this year with 2 eyes or 2 buds on it. Okay, doing the same here, same idea. So, and the sun's coming out, it's nice because it's a bit chilly here. So you can see how it's starting to look neater. And here we are So just finishing off the last bit, probably leaving one spur on the end, on last year's spur. It is machine harvested, that's why we've got the remains of the stalks. And here, ta-da, you can see.
Donc on a taillé, il y a 5.
So we've pruned, you've got 5 spurs nicely shared out on the cordon de Royat vine here. Yeah, I know. It's il y a Céréal qui regarde, qui dit que c'est tellement naturel pour toi de faire ça que tu vas à une vitesse que tu as du mal à ralentir. Oh, now he's going really slowly. So
Normalement, sur des vignes comme ça, on taille environ 500 pieds par jour.
So he would normally do 5, in a vineyard like this, he would normally do 500 vines a day. So 500 vines in a day. And that's why, yeah, he gets a really good speed up, and it is really difficult to get him to slow down. But excellent, brilliant. So I just have a quick look at the questions. Let's have a look at the questions here. Let's see what we've got. So Lisa, good to see you again, Lisa. Great, you've joined us on the live. So Lisa, elle te demande, est-ce que tu fais toute la taille tout seul? Génial. No, so we'll go up and see Michelle in a minute. We've actually got Michelle. We're in the same vineyard as Michelle. Michelle's just up here.
Non, disons qu'il y a, nous sommes environ 3 personnes pour tailler.
So we're 3 people for pruning, 3 people, and we've got 24 hectares. And your dad, did you count Roger in there? Sometimes, so 3.5.
But this morning is too cold and too windy.
Okay. Dad's having a lie-in, is he? Il fait la grasse matinée. Maybe later. So Roger's waiting for the sun to come up to do some pruning. But so 3.5 people, Lisa, to do all the pruning. And you think we've got about 100,000 vines on à peu près 100,000 pieds? Let Jean-Marc calculate that one.
Approximately, maybe a little more.
And we've got exactly the same question from Nigel as well, who was asking, est-ce que c'est toi qui tailles à la main toutes les vignes? No.
Oh, we start in November and we finish in March.
So, okay, start. I'll just repeat it just in case you can't hear because of the mic. So start in November now and we finish in March.
But we don't do all the day the same. Sometimes we do, for example, fertilization, or we replace
So we're not doing constant pruning. Sometimes we're tidying up the vineyards as well. We're spreading compost, pruning, repairing the wires as well. The wires also.
We do different things, but the pruning is between 4 months approximately.
So it's 4 months pruning approximately with 3.5 of us, and repairing the vineyard as we go.
Always we start with the Carignan and Syrah.
So we start with Carignan and Syrah,
and we finish with Grenache.
And we finish with the Grenache. And why is that then?
I prune the Grenache in March.
So
normally it's better for la
coulure. So we prune the Grenache later because if you remember from my previous rambles in the spring, Grenache is very prone to coulure, or where the fruit doesn't set and you don't get any grapes. And to prevent that, we do prune the Grenache later, or to help try and prevent it.
No,
we do prune a lot later on the Grenache.
Souvent c'est mieux.
And often that helps with the coulure or the poor fruit set. Donc j'ai une question de Sarah. Hi Sarah, thanks very much for the question. Sarah says, qu'est-ce qui se passera si tu taillais pas? So what would happen if you didn't prune? We get a nice holiday in the winter. Tu pourras faire des vacances.
Il existe on va dire de la non-taille, c'est-à-dire que ce sont des machines qui coupent très court les sarments.
Oui.
Mais pour faire ça, il faut avoir des terrains très fertiles et de l'eau pour que la plante puisse supporter d'avoir beaucoup de bois.
So one answer to the question is that Jean-Marc was thinking if he didn't hand prune. So there are machines that prune. You can get a machine you put on the tractor that prunes the vines mechanically. So it will just really cut the shoots shorter.
Ce que ferait la machine, par exemple.
Like, for example, if Jean-Marc was the tractor machine, the pruning, mechanical pruner, it would basically leave the vine like this. So it'd leave the vine with long shoots, but you need a really vigorous vine to be able to cope with that and to produce a harvest from so many shoots. So we can't do that here in Touchon because we don't have enough water and the soils are really poor. So we just don't have enough, the vines are not vigorous enough.
Si c'était taillé par une machine, ce serait approximativement fait comme ça.
So if you go down to Narbonne, lots of the vineyards are pruned with the machine and there's just rows and rows that look like this. So obviously a lot quicker. But
mais par contre, si on laissait tous les sarments, il y aurait de tout petits raisins et au bout de quelques temps, la vigne meurt.
Yeah, but if you left, there's too many sarments, so it really takes all the vigour out of the vine and it would eventually die. So we can't do that here. You can do it when you've got water and vigour in the vine. And then just to come back to your question, if we didn't prune at all, et si on taillait pas du tout, qu'est-ce qui se passera à la vigne? So if we didn't prune at all, what would happen to the vine?
Les raisins seront de plus en plus petits.
So you get smaller and smaller grapes.
Si on est sur des sols très pauvres, ben la vigne va mourir, va dépérir et va mourir.
And basically the vine would die over the years.
Sur des sols fertiles, elle va survivre, mais quasiment elle ne fera plus de raisins.
Yeah, and if it was on more fertile soil, blow your nose. If it's on more fertile soil, then you get lots and lots of vegetation, be like a jungle basically, but you wouldn't get any grapes at all. So if you don't prune, you get a sprawling jungle of vegetation and no grapes at all. That's one more question. I think it's the same question. How does a frost... Okay. One from, Santa Mans. I love your gin. Anybody looking for a wonderful, wonderful gin, it's my... Jean-Marc's laughing. It's my treat on a Friday night. They make up in Saint Amans. It's just a lovely botanical gin. It's absolutely wonderful. And thanks for your question. Il te demande comment est-ce que le gel peut faire différencier ton programme de taille.
En fait, on taille peu par rapport au gel.
Yeah.
En fait, au printemps, dès que les bourgeons ont commencé à bouger, le risque de gel est le même. Donc on ne tient pas trop compte du gel par rapport à la taille.
Okay. Just in Rob's... Hi Rob, Abugavani, good to see you. So we're just coming to the end, and this was the final question, was do we change our pruning program because of frost? Frost is not a major problem down here most years, so it doesn't have that much effect on how we prune. It's not a major consideration when we are pruning.
Parce qu'en fait, il y a aussi d'autres paramètres qu'on tient compte, c'est-à-dire que les zones qui sont les plus gélives sont aussi des zones où, en principe, la maturité, on ne veut pas la retarder. On veut plutôt que la maturité soit précoce, donc on ne va pas les tailler trop tard.
Yeah, so it's always a balance between when, if you prune too late, it sort of delays the whole growing cycle of the vine, which also means that the grapes get riper later. So it's a whole balance between when we want the grapes to be ripe and trying to avoid late frosts as well. So it's just a balance between that.
Pour que la taille ait une incidence par rapport au gel, faudrait tailler fin mars.
Because if we really wanted to prevent any frost damage, we would prune everything at the end of March. And we obviously can't prune everything at the end of March because
les vignes qui sont les plus gélives, je ne veux pas retarder leur maturité parce que si on taille fin mars, on va retarder leur
maturité. And he can't prune at the end of March on some of his vineyards because then they wouldn't be ripe. The grapes would never get ripe, basically. And I just learnt a new word, gélive. C'est un nouveau mot pour moi, gélive.
C'est souvent des bas-fonds.
Non, mais le mot, gélive. Gélive, new word. Means susceptible to gel. Thank you very much, Marc. I'm just going to walk up the vineyard. I didn't do any rambling. I just stood in one space. So just walking up as I say goodbye, just go and see Michel, see how he's getting on. I'd just like to say thank you so much for joining me. Next Tuesday, we've actually got an MW, a Master of Wine, joining me at the end for the Guess the Wine competition. So next Tuesday, we have a Master of Wine, Paul Liversedge from Switzerland, who's going to be joining me just after the Vineyard Ramble with a mystery wine. So please join me if you want the chance of winning a t-shirt. So walking up here, the Master, and the sun is just rising here. We've got the wonderful Aguilar Castle in the background. On Tuesday as well, we're going to be looking at the gobelet method of pruning. So we've looked at the cordon de Royat today on the wires in one of Jean-Marc's vineyards. And on Tuesday, we're going to be looking at gobelet pruning on my old vines. So just walk up and say hello to Michel. I can hear dogs. Dogs up there. Salut Michel! On vient juste de te passer le bonjour. On a fait le live, donc c'est terminé, ça y est, c'est fini. Ça va, tu as presque fini en fait. Ouais, c'est fini. So Michel's just finishing off. It's got one more row to do. This is our vineyard. This is not our vineyard. One more row to do. Tout le monde te dit bonjour et merci. Ciao Michel. So that's me signing off. Just a little view here of the lovely Tosh Mountain, and we'll finish on the snow-capped Canigou in the distance with those lovely clouds. The current temperature, I think without the wind chill factor, the temperature here is probably about 12 degrees, but the wind, it's only slightly breezy today, but it's just, it's very cold, so my fingers are frozen. But the sun, you can see the sun coming out now, so it's going to warm up, probably got up to about 15 this afternoon. Yeah, Paul Liversedge. You went on a trip to Sherry over 20 years. Anybody else know Paul Liversedge? Yeah, fantastic. I'm very excited about Paul doing the mystery wine on Tuesday. So off we go, time to get back in the Diane. I'm going for a cup of coffee. Bye Jean-Marc.